All right, I don't know much, but I know this much. The first cut of camp will be this mustache. I'm just telling you right now. This will be the first and last time we mention the mustache. It's totally jumped the shark at this point. We even thought about shaving it off on the air here on Cardinals Underground, and we figured, you know what, that would not be winning behavior. Sometimes, Dani, as you know, it's the decisions you don't make. And so I didn't throw that ball into traffic. We're not going to bust out the razor and take care of the mustache now, but here you go. One final look.
I'm not going to pretend that I'm disappointed I won't be hit with mustache hairs across the table, so fine by me.
That did not light the lamp. You know what I did realize, though? People who say they like the mustache, really what they really mean is they like making fun of the mustache.
I like the mustache.
So that's what I've come to realize the hard way. So although my days as director of self-confidence, my self-appointed title, director of self-confidence, because I make everyone feel better about themselves. It was kind of a valuable role during camp.
I try to avoid as somebody who can't grow a mustache or much facial hair whatsoever. That would be pretty poor of me to.
So it'll be the first cut of camp. All right, it will not make the final. Just
wait,
a camp body.
Is it going to play in the final preseason game at least?
It will not. No, it will absolutely not. Sam Acho can't be seen. ESPN guy. With a cannoli like yours.
So are we basically saying that when we talked once about Will Hernandez's mustache making the roster, it beat out your mustache?
It didn't help. And then Gardner Minshew came along and with that one. So, yeah, it certainly did not help.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
We're going to miss it, though.
Okay.
It had a lot of heart.
Do you actually have your own cup of sunflower seeds on the sideline, or do you leave that to the players?
I do not. I leave that to the players.
All right.
Is there any chance we've already been disappointed with the lack of mustache trimming on air? I'm now picturing Dani in this last preseason game with the Gatorade towel around her neck and the sunflower seeds for a hit. Can we? Well, that would be awesome.
What Dani doesn't realize is how many appearances you have? Like 7 or so in this last game.
Audio.
Okay, you might have like 70 in this last game. All right, we're going to go to you quite often.
You're going to help me with my game prep, Paul?
We're going to go down to the sideline with alacrity. Put it that way, Sam Acho. So I will say this: it would have been a different game if ... Jacoby Brissett would have played as much as Jarrett Stidham.
No, that's true.
Jacoby Brissett was Cardinals' backup quarterback, was moving the ball with the same sort of ease that Jarrett Stidham was. So that's why anybody who gets too, I don't know what the word is, verklempt over the preseason, then, you just need to calm down and realize these aren't going to be guys who are playing. You're not game planning, but you are getting a look at, for the Cardinals to start the game, Darren, with 2 undrafted rookies as your bookend tackles.
Is that not ideal, Paul?
Well, I really don't mean it that way. I mean, it's very unique.
Oh, yeah.
And I guess it's a legitimate question. Is that indicative of those two making a push? Usually you get an opportunity like that, they want to see more.
No, I don't think there's any question that the guys that were out there, especially to start the game on both sides of the ball, were under the microscope over okay, we want to see what you really have. And now, as Dani was just mentioning, we're talking about, it wasn't just the starters who didn't play. There was a handful of other guys. When you mention the offensive line, your swing tackle is Kelvin Beachum, who wasn't playing. So you're missing your top 3 tackles, and this is when you're talking about getting too verklempt over a preseason game. Literally, they're going to go into a game, and the likelihood is that they're going to have 3 offensive tackles active, and none of them saw any snaps. So
true.
When we're talking about this, and I had somebody in the mailbag talking about if you play like that again, you could possibly you're killing the vibe going into the season. I'm like, how are you killing the vibe when the guys that are actually going to be playing in real games aren't out there? That's not affecting them. So I do think it's interesting to see who didn't play. The Dante Stills of the world, who obviously has locked up a spot, although I think we already kind of felt that way. But then also who is where on the depth chart. The one thing that I've always thought for the last couple of weeks is it's interesting to me that Denzel Burke is clearly ahead of Elijah Jones on the depth chart.
Jordan Birch, another name, your outside linebacker, only saw a few snaps, and Xavier Thomas, going into his second year, played significant more time. Curious if that.
He was in the fourth quarter even.
Yes, if that has anything. Now, again, you have to take some of it with a grain of salt. LJ Collier was playing into the fourth quarter, and that's someone who I don't feel is, quote unquote, on the bubble for that defensive line. You just, to a certain extent, you need bodies. You need people who are out there. and know what they're going to do. When you're talking about offensive line in particular, there's still a question on who your fourth tackle could be. I mean, Christian Jones is dealing with a knee injury. Don't know the severity or how long he could be out there. If that's something that he might not be ready to go week 1, is that fourth position going to go to a Jeremiah Byers? Does it go to a Josh Fryer? Or is that a position where this front office needs to keep their eye on come Tuesday when cuts are made of who could they possibly pick up on the waiver wire at spot 16? That's also going into play of you're evaluating of, okay, is this player, if we possibly need depth in this position, do we feel good about that with who we're seeing on the field? Or is this something we maybe need to keep our eye on as Tuesday approaches?
I want to know, we all should put in a name for the William Powell Memorial Award for the Raiders game.
Oh, yeah. What do you get, like 35 carries?
36 carries
36.
for under 100 yards. He might have been in the high 80s for yards. But, like, which player is going to, like, be ground into the ground with snaps when he's might not be around?
I kind of expected Bam Knight to get more action, so maybe they were saving his legs.
Didn't he get hurt?
Did he?
End?
Oh, did he get hurt? Is that why we didn't see more of him?
I can't remember which game. Not hurt, but like I thought he left for a couple plays and then came back in.
Maybe.
Because he looked good against the Chiefs. He came back in, but there was a play where
He did. He returned to the game.
He got bammed up and had to come out for a minute.
By the way, Bam has nothing to do with football. I asked him about the derivation of his nickname. He said it goes back to when he was like 5 or 6 years old and how he would treat toys as a toddler. And then the
and then the Cardinals signed him and said, "Go for it, kid."
Team Bam, his family nicknamed him Bam Knight, and so instead of Zonovan, it's Bam.
Like Bam Bam.
Something like that, probably.
Yeah, although I always find it
Danny.
interesting.
That's way before your time. That's pretty good.
Hey,
That's
I'm
impressive.
cultured, Paul. Don't forget.
It's way before everybody's time. That was prehistoric ages. I do think it's interesting that you would have a guy named Zonovan. That's already a cool name, and then you give him a cool nickname like save some of the names.
Denzel Burke goes by Bug.
Yeah, I don't. Did you know where that came from?
I'd have to go back and re-listen. I think that was said in one of his early.
No, I remember that, but
conferences.
I don't remember if they actually said why he's Bug.
I think it's a family nickname.
Oh.
You know what? I'm looking to sort of upgrade in the first name department. If Bam isn't using Zonovan, maybe he'll let me borrow it this season.
Calvisi.
Zonovan Calvisi.
You have a ton
honestly,
you have Paulie Pencilneck, you have Calvisi Consulting, you have Paulie Podcast.
Well, that's because I'm trying to mask this inferiority complex about my first name. That's why
So
I need a good first name.
So when you join Sam Acho in the booth for the broadcast Saturday and I'm on the sideline, I toss it up to you. Instead of saying Paul, I'll say Zonovan. Back to you.
Well, or you could go with Robert. Grealu's not using it.
I did not know that. That's a fun factoid about Craig. Okay, all right. I'm sort of like the Napoleon Dynamite. You know, like I need skills. I don't have skills, right? Remember that whole deal?
You should put tater tots in your pocket.
Okay. Let's see. What else? Let's see. ADG. I'm just going to, number 27 was wearing the green dot to start the game.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the most competitive position battles still to be determined. ADG, TBD. Against what? Owen Papo, Cody Simon. Look, I'm just going to say this right now. Owen Papo might be more athletic. He might be more physical. But based on what we saw in Denver, Cody Simon might be the better middle linebacker right now in terms of a game situation. Reading, reacting, diagnosing, seek and destroy, just the instincts. And then there's the ability to tackle in space.
Jonathan Gannon said this week that inside linebacker after Mack is one of the things he's watching.
Okay. Because for everything you can do in a joint practice, you're still not tackling to the ground. Nobody's hitting the quarterback, obviously. So what preseason games do give you, let's not totally demean preseason games. What they do give you is, all right, who's a good tackler? Who can get a running back, a receiver down to the ground by themselves? And if someone is consistently missing tackles in space, and Cody Simon seems to be a pretty sure tackler, and at least there's that. There's the look to me, backup offensive line. Mm-hmm. Just ask Jacoby Brissett and Clayton Tune. They've taken some hellacious hits behind second and third team offensive linemen. That's something. If they're going to go off the board, and I know Darren in the mailbag, I took a quick glance. You sort of explained how a waiver claim is unlikely, especially where the Cardinals are sort of in the pecking order. Yeah. But if there's
I shouldn't say a waiver claim. I don't doubt they might put in a couple waiver claims. Whether they're actually awarded the claim is
true. Right.
When it comes to offensive line depth, though, you cannot forget about Will Hernandez. Now, he is still on PUP as he rehabs that knee injury he suffered in Week 5 last season in San Francisco. That's a depth move. So when you're going down past your 5 starters, having Hernandez, having John Gaines, who has the versatility of a center and a guard, that is still important. And then you have the veteran experience as Kelvin Beachum as your backup swing tackle. Maybe I'm being naive, but I'm not truly super concerned about the second string offensive line. What you're really seeing are a lot of young players. You said it yourself, 2 undrafted rookies as your bookend tackles. And then you had Hayden Connor, another rookie at center who left the game with an injury. And Gaines wasn't able to play center because he still has a cast on his snapping hand dealing with a thumb injury. So I took all of that into a grain of salt. And look, you need better play from your offensive line. Absolutely. I'm not sitting here shaking in my boots at the offensive line depth if we're talking about third stringers here.
I'm 100% with Dani, and I was talking to somebody about this the other day. Like, if you need offensive line depth in a situation, they don't tell the starting offensive line to get off the field. We're putting in the entire backup offensive line. It's one guy. So you're still going to have 4 starters with the one guy. I know you want to have depth and everybody playing well, but between the fact that you have Beach, the fact you're going to eventually have Will Hernandez, and the fact that you're not doing mass subs, that you're only putting in one guy at a time, I'm with Dani. You want to see them play better. I thought the whole team didn't play as well as they should, but I'm not worried about it.
You also can't have it both ways. The part of the reason preseason games are important are for players who are not going to get quantity reps throughout the regular season. So you don't get to understand that preseason game is that opportunity and then be up in arms that these players who haven't had any opportunities are not out there absolutely dominating from the beginning.
And for everything we haven't seen maybe in the second and third team offensive line, I thought the Cardinals' first team offensive line acquitted themselves pretty dang well in Denver. The O-line, D-line drills, I was on the offensive side for the most part. I mean, you had Evan Brown going against Zach Allen, and I thought he was pretty darn stout in that one. I mean, you had Jonah Williams going against Jonathan Cooper out there. Nick Bonino wasn't practicing.
Not Jonathan Cooper, but Jonathan Cooper.
And John Franklin Myers, their big defensive tackle, going against Isaiah Adams and DJ Jones, their veteran and really stout nose tackle, going against Hjalte Froholt. I mean, you're talking about a Denver defense that led the NFL in sacks a year ago. And if you take a quick look at it, this could be the Cardinals this year. If you're going to distribute sacks across the front, I mean, Jonathan Cooper had 10.5 off the edge. John Franklin Myers, the D tackle, had 7. Zach Allen had 8.5. Nick Bonito had 13.5. I'm not expecting quite. You're not going to lead the league in sacks, but I think there's going to be a considerable jump. And we talked about. Remember before the draft, we talked way back in March and April about, okay, what if you go from 17 players with 1 sack, which I think was the stat last year, to one guy with 17 sacks. # Josh Sweat. Don't know if he's going to exceed his career high of 11 by that many, but if you're able to free Sweat and get him away from the Eagles' loaded defensive front and really feature him off the edge, the big question to Nick Rawls, including today, is what happens if you can rush 4, stop the run with 4, but what happens if you have a big-time Chandler Jones-esque Pro Bowl caliber pass rusher off the edge? What do you think that does? Because Josh Sweat's been pretty darn quiet, right? They've sort of been it's sort of been under the radar this whole camp. But when he's had his chances, there was one where he decisively won against Paris Johnson Jr. early in camp.
If the Cardinals didn't feel that Sweat could come and be a game wrecker, they would not have brought him here and given him the money, and this would not have been the place for Sweat to sign when he had options in free agency. The pairings with Sweat and then opposite having Zaven Collins, who continues to look better, Baron Browning, who has received a lot of praise from the coaching staff throughout training camp and the preseason, and was one of those players who might not be a true starter out there for the first play, but did not play in the second preseason game against the Broncos. And you pair that with the disruption that has been brought in on the defensive line. That's key, is you don't just have pass rush from your outside linebackers. You now have it with proven players up front on the defensive line who have shown that they can also get into the backfield, and that's really going to make a difference. The last piece is you need to make sure you have the coverage. You need to make sure you have tight coverage. You're forcing a quarterback to hang on to the ball, that it's clean. You're not drawing any sort of penalties. That's going to play a role as well. I'm very excited to see Sweat out there and going 100% with the motor and the power and the speed and the strength that he has and what he will bring to this defense.
So in the second half, on the radio side, I busted out a few lists that I came up with.
You love a good list.
Top 3 first-time Pro Bowlers. I busted this out on AQ Shipley. Candidates to be first-time Pro Bowlers, the most likely this year. Go ahead. You guys can throw out names. Do you want me to start? I'll start. This was the NFL.com choice. I might have ripped this list off NFL.com.
The idea of the list, not the list.
Yeah, exactly. Garrett Williams. All right. So first-time Pro Bowler. I have Paris Johnson Jr.
Yeah.
I have Mack Wilson Sr.
Those were my first 3 that I was thinking. Okay.
And then, I threw Marvin Harrison Jr. in there. How about, I'd say either or, Blake Gillikin or Chad Ryland. Chad Ryland was a Pro Bowl alternate last year. If he picks up where he left off, probably the only thing that cost him was he was only here a half a season or so. But
has Josh Sweat made a Pro Bowl?
1.
Okay.
Yep, his final year with Jonathan Gannon.
Okay.
So that could be. Another list I threw out there, top 3 Cardinals hype trains. Like, where's the hype right now?
Got it.
Fantasy football people will tell you Trey Benson. Will Johnson gets, you did the sit down with Will Johnson. That got a lot of clicks, a lot of views, right? Will Johnson sort of has his, he's got a big time built-in audience.
Yes, but remember, I know it was your first time playing fantasy football last year, Paul. You don't pick individual defenders, just a general defense. I understand where you're going with this, but
are you sure you're not talking to Ron Wolfley? Are you sure on that one?
Well, you got the mustache.
Oh, boy. Hype train. Isaiah Adams, I think, has his own little built-in hype train, a little bit. I don't know if an offensive lineman can necessarily. Jordan Birch, gathering steam.
I definitely think that. But Jordan Birch, to me, feels like one of those guys that can be good, but then we're going to get to the regular season and you're going to realize that his role is limited because he's a rookie and they've got all these other guys. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, we better dial it back just because he's not going to get the kind of playing time necessarily. Yeah. With Zaven Collins and Josh Sweat and Baron Browning already there.
Can we go back to the Pro Bowl list?
Sure.
Joey Blunt, special teams.
Interesting. Okay.
He had a good special teams year last year.
He did, but do you think they keep Joey Blunt and Keaton Crawford? And I'm thinking Keaton Crawford's got a really good chance of making this roster.
I don't know.
I think Keaton Crawford has made this roster. Yeah, they don't want to let him go. I think they're intrigued by the upside. What they've seen is already enough, and then there's upside.
5 safeties?
So here's a question. I threw this out in the pregame show.
Well, couldn't you, if you're going to move Garrett Williams outside? If you're going to have him play outside more, couldn't you have 5 safeties if that's what you want?
You could. I don't know if I think they're going to have Garrett Williams outside more, but in base packages, but I don't think they're going to play in base very often.
Well, and then look at the cornerback room. Max Melton, Will Johnson, Garrett Williams. Then after that, you have a combination of Elijah Jones, Denzel Burke, Keitrell Clark, Darren Hall. So, interesting. There's going to be a DB who hits the floor, the cutting room floor, and it's going to raise a couple eyebrows. There's someone who's worthy of an NFL 53-man roster spot. So that's, for example, I threw this on the pregame show. I put Simi Fehoko into the category of Joey Blunt and Keaton Crawford. Are there 2 spots for those 3 guys? Because aren't they all sort of, whether you're at the back end of the safety room or the back end of the receiver room, you're really on the team on game day, you're special teams.
You're right. That's true. I guess the question becomes who might be able to make it to practice squad, number 1. And number 2, where do you feel like? I feel like with all the DBs and what Garrett Williams can do, and what about Darren Hall, who can also play a little safety? You might have more flexibility at the back end with guys other than Joey Blunt and or Keaton Crawford than you will at receiver, where you're going to need a receiver potentially.
Yeah. I'll say this. The looks of Fehoko in the end zone as a 6'4" big receiver. That's a nice red zone threat. If he can catch the ball, it's a big body who, in traffic can make a contested catch. According to Marvin Harrison Jr., he comes back for the football better than most receivers in the league. That's something he specializes in. And if that rubs off on the rest of the room, that's a good thing.
He went to Stanford, Paul, so he's smart.
No, I try to edit that out, please. We do not mention that. Speaking of someone who already mentioned that, Craig Grelu, he said he's going to steal my elevator list. This is the final list. So I want to put this down on camera, on audio right now. Not elevator speech, an elevator list. This would be the players who are pushing the button to go to the next level.
Up, I assume?
Could be either one. These are all up. But, get back to me in a month, and we'll have guys pushing the button down.
Okay.
Right now, Tip Ryman pushing the button to go up a level. Dante Stills, we already talked about Dante. Just the fact he wasn't playing the other night. Zay Jones.
Yep.
This one I'm going to have to take off based on this was before the game.
Oh, man.
Owen Papo. That was a little premature on that one. I put down Greg Dortch as a punt returner just because I think he's going to get a lot more punt returns with a defense, in better field position. And then Jim Alejandro said, I'm remiss not putting Max Melton on the elevator list.
I like that.
That's probably a correct
Put me on that list, Paul. I'm always working on elevating my game.
Okay, well, Dani gets a chance to prove it. It's time for winning behavior.
Don't we want getting cultured?
Getting cultured.
Paul is going down.
Darn it. Now I'm going down. Dani, we'll segue to you.
Getting cultured with Dani. It is not just directed at Paul.
Am I the default uncultured Philistine around here?
Yes.
You got me very excited now.
I am on social media and consume more pop culture than both of you combined.
I think I'm being unfairly profiled, but go ahead.
Let's go. Paul, it's okay. You had a 50-50 shot. Math is not our strong suit here.
I'm going to blame the mustache. I might have to take it off right now.
I got to be honest.
He
did
bad.
that with such confidence.
I felt bad correcting you.
I did too.
Did we just edit it out?
I was like, I looked, I'm like, do we? It just doesn't.
It's like calling a timeout you don't have.
Here we go, Paul.
Bad.
I've got really exciting news for you to turn things around.
Everybody gets one big mental error in the preseason. Let's go.
There you go.
6,000 plus new words are being added to the Cambridge Dictionary, including skibbity, a popular word among Gen Alpha, which refers to people born in the 2010s. Did you know that one? Do your kids use that?
I did not know that one.
I've heard that
Okay,
one.
great. And delulu, a play on the word delusional. You should use that. Use that around the kids if you're feeling delusional.
I thought you
say
were
you're being delulu.
I was going to say Delulu Lemon.
Oh, there you go.
That's what I thought you were going to say.
Can we go back to the beginning of that? Did you say they're adding 6,000 words?
I don't know how they find that many. A lot of it is lingo, like inspo, short for inspiration. I think it's a lot of internet slang being added in.
Woo.
Did they add meh, M-E-H? Did they add?
I bet you. That's a good
I think
one.
Darren used that in the.
I did, didn't I?
Darren
In
did
the
use
mailbag.
that. Look at how. Yeah, there you go. He's right.
Sad news. Arizona iced tea, which has famously always been 99 cents. Reportedly, prices might be increasing due to tariffs on aluminum.
They tweet all the time, like when somebody else is talking about price, that we're still 99 cents.
It's not confirmed, but it would be the first time they ever raise their prices if it comes to that.
Did they say what it was going to be?
No, I did not see online.
I guarantee this. I'm going to go out. I'm going to try and make up for my egregious error earlier. I guarantee the packaging for Arizona iced tea costs more than the beverage itself. I guarantee the tin can, the aluminum it's in, the can itself costs more to produce than the actual. I had someone tell me, there was a study on this or whatever, that a Krispy Kreme donut, the box costs more for the company than it does to produce the donut.
Two people I highly respect, the CEO of Arizona Iced Tea and of Costco, who remain, who they stand strong. They stand on business on not raising their prices, and I respect that. Okay, last on my Getting Cultured list, University of Oklahoma.
Oh boy.
They are selling media access to fans. So post-game, that includes access to pressers and locker room to, quote, see where real-time reactions unfold and, quote, watch the story take shape through questions. It varies per game. So the game against Illinois State for 2 tickets, $461. That is reportedly already sold out, those tickets. And against Michigan, 2 tickets, $692.
So they're allowed to go in there and listen. They're not asking questions?
I don't believe they're allowed to ask, but they are allowed to be in the press conference room and they're allowed to be in the locker rooms.
First of all, I'm surprised that you're allowed to go as media, or you're allowed to go into a college locker room. I thought those days were over.
Now, are they allowed to go in after a loss? Because Texas A&M baseball will not allow their players to be interviewed after a loss. So they ended up on one of our lists earlier this offseason. So now we know as media members what Cowboys players feel like when all the high rollers wheel by the glass windows surrounding the Cowboys weight room and other areas.
I'm going to plead the fifth on that one, Paul.
Right? Like zoo animals on display for everyone to walk by and gawk at. So now I guess the media members at Oklahoma.
I'll just say that's getting. I'll just say you've been cultured. You're welcome. How about that?
That was a good one. Those were good ones.
That was pretty good. Oh my goodness. Okay, you overcame the intro and you made it a winning edition of Getting Cultured.
Don't be Delulu over it, Paul.
Yeah. All right. But by the way, none of the 6,000 words still will top canoodle. Canoodle, from
the
Coldplay, canoodle. You need to. Do you ever work that in, Darren? Yeah, that was my challenge to you, to work canoodle into a football article. I don't think you've yet.
I don't know. I don't know if canoodle's got.
No. Okay.
Maybe that would have to be a personality profile. Maybe.
Maybe the whole quarterback center exchange thing. Maybe that's. I guess that crosses the line. Yeah. Okay.
No.
All righty. Let's see here. What? If you're Monty and you're JG and you're watching this Raiders preseason finale, what's on the list? Come on, let's name some names, name some position groups, anyone else we're missing. Who do you want to see? Do you think every decision has been made, or can someone make a play and make this team?
I think that for the most part, decisions have been made. It's all encompassing. So what somebody does or doesn't show on tape in this final game is not going to be make or break it. When I say that for the most part, it goes back to what we were saying earlier. I think it's a matter of, okay, in terms of depth or maybe trying to get a player on the practice squad, do we feel this is the best option at that position room, or do we need to keep our eyes open for waiver claims, for veterans that are still on the market as free agents? That's what I see it as. If you're asking about starters or even maybe second string, those are about as secure as you could be without it being official, I would imagine.
I'm with Dani on this, and I would even go as far as saying you are gonna, like, I feel like there's 17 guys on the practice squad, the one international guy and 16 others. I'm be willing to bet at least 12, maybe 13 plus the international guy are for the practice squad. We're already watching them. So you're talking about 53 plus another 13 or 14 guys that are going to be around. They're going to be on the practice squad, but they're going to be around. That doesn't leave a whole lot to what you're sifting through, probably.
Does the international guy count as two players? Because he's like 6'8", 350. Did you see that?
Well, just when he's next to you, Paul, but...
Oh, wow. Okay, that's what I get.
I think he's also 6'8", 350 if he's standing next to you.
Yeah, that's what I get for being a smart guy over here.
I would. Here's my question, Paul. Does he? I know he didn't play in Denver. Do you think they play him in this last game?
He's late to the game. If you read his bio, like he started.
No, I know
like,
he is.
So I'm not sure how game ready he could be. I mean, he might be an intriguing prospect and have a lot of athleticism.
He's been around for a couple of years.
Obviously has the size. Yeah, so I don't know. I honestly do not know.
I
mean, can't put a guy at risk, obviously.
No. I'm with you.
Dudes flying around trying to make a team. And, look, is it possible someone comes out of nowhere? Absolutely. I mean, if Elijah Jones kind of picks up where he left off in Denver, where he had a nice forced fumble in the end zone, and all of a sudden he has a good game. I've said this a couple of times, at least on Red Sea Report. Jonathan Gannon, I don't know if he has a dog, but he definitely has a dog house right now. And it's young DBs who are too handsy, too many fouls, just not playing with technique, but playing with their hands, illegal contact, pass interference. And
if there's one position that you don't want to be kind of like lost in your fundamentals with Jonathan Gannon, it's DB, which is what he is the expert upon.
Yeah, so if someone came out there and, Darren Hall had a game like he had against Kansas City, and he had nearly 2 interceptions in this game. I mean, does he eclipse a couple of the young corners? I don't know.
We say Darren Hall's name every year. He has a good camp and a good outing in preseason.
Let me ask you this. Since we are talking about guys who are like, spot 50 on this roster, let's go back to the joint practice. What stood out the most? Was there anything, that really made you really encouraged, or anything that made you really concerned? Was there more to commend or more to correct, if you will?
Here's the thing. When I look back at that joint practice, I think to myself, because I was asked by lots of people, and I know there was a lot of real-time tweeting by media members that were there. Were there things that you worry about? Yes, but I can't get super over my skis with a singular practice, especially when we're talking about a practice against, as you already mentioned, Paul, one of the best defenses in the game and one of the best pass rushes. Because I do think there were times where the first unit offense looked like it was struggling to keep Kyler clean, but that's going to happen when you're not game planning against B, one of the best pass rushers in the league, in a practice. So I'm not super concerned about a lot of stuff. I know early on Marvin wasn't getting a lot of catches, but down the stretch, Kyler found him a few times with some really nice plays on both ends. Yeah. I really liked how Trey Benson looked in that practice. I was watching the offense more than the defense, but I thought they were fine. I didn't think they got overwhelmed. Did they quote unquote lose the practice? Maybe. But I also noticed on the defensive side a few times, again, when you're not allowed to get real close to the quarterback, I'm fairly certain that the Cardinals would have gotten to Bo Nix, and then he didn't because you're not allowed, and then they throw it down the field, and there's a completion, and all the crowd goes, woo, woo, and it's like that never would have happened in a real game.
Lorenzo Alexander lamented that. He said, that's the worst thing. You're on defense. You know you got the sack, but you can't hit the quarterback. You're in joint practice. And then the crowd goes nuts. You're trying to tell the crowd, no, that wouldn't have counted. Stop. There was also, look, you're not game planning, and some of these players were unknowns. Like, for example, and I think there was a player, and I think it was 17 for Denver, Devon Vele. He's 6'5". And so the Cardinals secondary is like, okay, he's 6'5", he probably runs a 4.6, 4.7. No, dude runs a 4.4. So he got loose and got behind the Cardinals secondary. And, a lot of it was the guys looking at each other, okay, we had no idea that guy at that size can run like that. Now, you would have known that if it was a game.
That's the benefit of a joint practice. And honestly, some of these preseason games when you're not game planning is that natural instinct is you can have the baseline of what you're expected to do and where you should be in your technique. And then you need to go out there and you're going to have to adjust on the fly. I like that joint practice gave the starters roughly 55 snaps. That is quality and quantity snaps. That's more than the starters would have gotten in a preseason game. That is a huge benefit of joint practice is having that intensity and a high quantity of snaps in a still controlled environment. When you're talking about the offense, I think it's good that they were on their heels a little bit. That was something that Kyler Murray talked about in the first preseason game against the Chiefs. He felt it's a nice reminder that you can practice getting the ball out quickly and going through your reads, and that pressure of the defense when they're not allowed to touch you, especially when they're on your team, is not the same in a game. So to have that still somewhat simulated in joint practice, that is good to keep that reminder on the offense.
I enjoyed Zach Allen's hug in the last series when the offense was trying to do something and the Cardinals didn't go anywhere. But one of the early downs, somehow Zach Allen got wide open with a rush right up the middle. And in these practices, like we were just talking about, even though there was going to be a quote-unquote sack, the quarterback runs around because he's not actually tackled and kind of finishes out the play. Zach Allen was so up the middle and so in Kyler's face, Kyler just stopped because he knew he was done. And Zach stopped right short of him and then gave him a big bear hug, his former teammate. And it was just funny to watch. He's trying to be nice and he gives him the hug. And as soon as he let go, Kyler's body language, fairly enough, was like, mother puss nugget. I can't believe we're not doing this right.
There was also, I'm not going to ask you to repeat that, but there was a similar moment. Mari DiMercato.
Yeah, that's one of the words being added to the Cambridge Dictionary.
Yeah, it's got to be, right? I mean, 6,000 words, it's got to include that one. So I think Darren cheated. He took a look. Mari DiMercato tossed to the Cardinals sideline. He got the corner and then got wiped out. I mean, there was a third-string safety who came in and blew him up, and then James Conner came running onto the field, helmet off, barking at the guy. And nobody wanted a piece of James Conner. They just let James Conner have his piece and say what he had to say. And then there was Tip Ryman, who was starting stuff all over the place by finishing blocks. We need an ISO cam on Tip Ryman this year. You don't say that often about a blocking tight end, but based on what he's done between camp and these preseason games and the joint practice, Tip Ryman.
I want to ask you guys something. Somebody brought this up to me. Do the Cardinals have one of the best tight end rooms in the league? And I'm not
for the offense they run, yes. Because you have such strong blocking tight ends and you have versatile tight ends like Elijah Higgins who can block, who can be a reliable pass catcher. Trey McBride has really worked on his blocking. This is one of the best tight end rooms in the league.
If you need a quote, Darren, if you're going to pursue that story, Ben Steele, tight ends coach, was on the Big Red Rage towards the beginning of camp, and there was a tweet out there, who's got the best tight end room in the league, and he responded to it and said us. So it was pretty funny. But he thinks from top to bottom.
I mean, you look at we talk about Trey all the time. You talked about how Tip is one of your guys on the elevator, which I absolutely believe in, and it was great. Drew Petzing, the offensive coordinator, had a quote this week where he was like, he's not going to be a number one pick in fantasy football, but if you're an NFL team, you want that guy because he's that important. And he does do those intangible things, and even some tangible things when you see him on film trucking a dude. And to me, what Elijah Higgins has turned into as a waiver claim, like, I'm really impressed with his game and
as
how
a former wide receiver.
Yeah, like all those guys, like I would trust them.
I asked Ben Steele, because this was a valid question a year ago at this time. Okay, how is the blocking for Elijah Higgins these days as a former receiver? And he kind of gave me half a death stare. Like, that's not a legitimate question. He's a fine blocker. Like, he can handle his position. I mean, he's made a lot of progress in a year and a half.
Well, and Trey especially, but to but also Tip, and Dani has a very good sense of what Tip's like off the field with her video piece last year when you guys were building pottery together, which was awesome. But on the field, Tip can be an a-hole on purpose, and I think Trey has that same kind of thing when it gets. And I think Elijah Higgins, Stanford dude, and a really good dude when you talk to him, but he's got a little chippiness. He showed that in the joint practice.
Yeah.
He was willing to mix it up too.
No, you're right. Let's be clear though. When you say awesome pottery, we are talking about Tip's product and his handiwork.
No, we're not.
Dani's. I mean, let's be honest.
Hang on. Did you not watch the video and see that it
honest.
almost completely folded and I saved it? And you should ask Tip about it because he said he was very impressed, given it was my first time making pottery, that I was able to save my dish.
This is why we need the sequel.
Fine.
We were talking about weren't you talking about the potentially having a sequel?
This is what happens. Darren says, what do you look like standing next to the 6'8" guy? And then I bring up, what did Dani's pot look like next to Tip Ryman's, masterwork? That's what I'm saying.
He made a really intricate vase with like texture.
Yeah. Okay. Tip did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. The aforementioned as advertised, and now in its proper slot in the game plan, winning behavior, please.
I see you on the show! Can you display winning behavior? You have to consistently display winning behavior.
That's winning behavior.
You got to define what winning behavior is and hold people to that standard.
Yes.
I'm going to go off the board, and I'm going to bring you one that hopefully changes your life with the following article. Here's the headline. You ready?
Yes.
I tried Denmark's #1 secret to happiness for a year. It truly changed my life and even made me more confident. Getting into hobbies is the #1 secret to happiness and life-work balance in Denmark. And so this author...
Just finding a hobby, you mean?
Because this author described herself as a type A, workaholic, always worried about the little things, and then all of a sudden she got into a variety of different hobbies that require you being somewhere at a certain time, which mandate you have to spend it on yourself, things that interest you, give you mental health, away from the workplace. And she said by the end of the year, she was a totally different person and personality.
Do you guys not have hobbies?
I don't have enough. Let me put it this way. I've had somebody in my life say, in a nice way, not like what the hell, but like, you need to have hobbies. You need to not think about work so much.
You do need to have hobbies. That's important. What are your hobbies, Paul?
Maybe it starts with Denmark.
What are your hobbies?
Can you work remote?
You like cars?
Yeah, my
he's a
hobby's
car
tough
guy.
this time of year because when it's 113 out, the garage is like 143.
That's a
So
good point.
it's a little tough. But yes, that is my mental health away from
that's a good one.
these old classic cars. And if you actually get them to run well, that's a plus as well. So if you can actually get behind the wheel and drive them as opposed to working on them, yeah, that would be good. So, all right, there's that one. What else can we do to improve anyone's life?
As we record this today, Paul, it's the 5-year anniversary of There's a Deep Drive by Castellanos.
Oh, no.
So what's going to happen tonight?
That's a great question.
Oh, boy. Okay.
So I wanted to mark the occasion because that's one of my favorite all-time things that has ever happened. And it is. Yeah. I have a friend who I text chain with, and the number of times we bring it up, and I do it with my kids too. It's just fabulous.
I'm now throwing salt over my shoulder.
And if you don't know what we're talking about, please Google it.
Okay. When you do Google something, make sure you're getting real information and not fake information.
Which AI seems like it's more and more fake all the time.
So this one got into the Broncos TV booth. I was not aware of this until after the game, and that's regrettable.
I'm going to say this. So,
speaking of throwing salt over my shoulder right now.
A little background. During the Cardinals-Broncos game, obviously in the preseason, each team does their own broadcast. It's not nationally broadcast. They don't have national broadcasters doing it. So on the Denver broadcast, at one point, they showed Micah Parsons, the currently estranged Cowboy linebacker.
It's good. I like that.
With a quote graphic saying, and I'm paraphrasing, but basically, supposedly on his podcast said, "My dream destination is to play for the Broncos." Now, Dani and I have talked about this off air. The fact that you're talking about that in the first place when he's already on another team, that's probably not great. But the problem is that he never said it. This graphic said Micah said it on his own podcast. It never happened. At one point, I found the original tweet who had it. It was a guy just messing around. Now, I will say this, not winning behavior to vet it, obviously. But the more I thought about it, what I really would like to rail about on non-winning behavior are these idiots, these trolls on Twitter who think it's funny to put out quote-unquote real stuff. And I know...
And the guy who did it flexed it.
Like, I know.
He basked in the glow of the spotlight.
And again, this might be a generational thing. I've had people ask, "Oh, don't you know what NBA Centel is?" Which I do. Yeah. But, like, I can't stand that stuff. And the people that think it's funny, that's whatever, but I'm not a fan.
Those people who do it, who think it's funny, in my opinion, need hobbies.
Oh, so we can send them to Denmark.
Sure, send them to Denmark.
There's a judge in Australia who most definitely did not find it funny when a senior lawyer filed a bunch of submissions in a murder case that included fake quotes, non-existent case judgments generated by artificial intelligence, a blunder that went all the way to the Supreme Court in Australia, and got this lawyer disciplined.
I get why people want to use AI, but... Here's the thing that I have an issue with AI is, like, it's this stuff. Like, are you really saving yourself time if you have them generate something and then you have to go back and go through it with a fine-tooth comb? Like, what's the point?
We'll end on a feel-good note here, winning behavior. This is sort of a throwback. Once upon a time in Flagstaff, Darren, do you remember the player, we won't name names, who had an old pickup truck? It was a Ford F-250 out in the on the parking lot in Flagstaff, and he had a cooler chained to the truck bed.
I do believe I remember that. Yes.
And in the cooler, he would always have beers iced down and ready to go.
That's a good teammate.
Yep. Although most of the time it was just himself, actually. Because of the position.
It's called self-love, Paul.
Because of the position he played, he could get away with it. I'll just leave it at that. He may or may not have been a specialist. So the Cleveland offensive line was given a very appropriate gift from the Eagles offensive line, in particular guard Landon Dickerson. And Darren, what was it exactly?
Well, they had the Eagles and the Browns had a joint practice. Landon Dickerson, if you weren't watching the news, has been injured lately. But at the end of the practice, he brought out some ice-cold beers to share so that the Eagles offensive lineman and the Browns offensive lineman could share a moment after their joint practice.
That sounds like a beer commercial waiting to happen.
So much so.
It really does. By the way, props to Sean Payton and the Broncos. They busted out the food trucks. There were like 7 food trucks at the end of joint practice.
Yes,
the
that
far
was
end.
cool.
So that was pretty good. Everyone got to go over there and hang out with that. So, all right, anything else we need to throw? By the way, Dani, my new idea for dogs, did I throw this one at you? Yeah, we've been so busy with preseason. We've heard of Tinder, right, the dating app. What about Dinder for dogs and play dates for dogs? You go on there and you find a play date for your dog, and you'll meet them at a dog park. And, pet owners think of their pets as children or members of the family. That Dinder, a new app.
Wouldn't you just go to a dog park and just work with whatever's there?
Thank you, Darren.
I'm sorry.
Appreciate it.
I don't love it, Paul.
No.
I think you can do better.
Here's one. Since they stole my weight loss drug for dogs, and that's
yeah. Did he want to have like a fat farm for dogs?
I did, and then somebody stole it. So what about? Let's just forget about actually putting work into it. What about plastic surgery for dogs? Like our dog Cheeto, I'll give him a little ear tuck. Maybe the beak. Or reduce nose job of some sort. Maybe under the chin, tuck the chin a little bit too. Plastic surgery for dogs. No.
Is your dog? Is Cheeto not attracting the women or what? I was going to use the female word for dog, and I decided not.
Let's
to.
hope not. One dog's enough. Now let's end it with this: NFL.com predicting every game and every team's final record.
This was NFL.com because I know SIA.com did that too.
NFL.com. 2 writers went through.
Okay.
All 272 games. This is what happens when they're watching preseason football in a press box in the second half, and they start doing stuff like this. So I'm just going to cut to the chase. Writer number 1, NFC West. Rams 11-6 division champs. Niners 11-6. Final 2 wild cards go to the 9-8 Lions, the 8-9 Bears. They have the Cardinals finishing 8-9, but outside the playoffs looking in behind the Bears.
Okay.
Writer number 2 has 3 teams in the NFC West all finishing 10-7 and advancing to the playoffs. Seahawks, Rams, Niners.
What does it have the Cardinals?
Cardinals at 9-8.
So everybody in the division's over 500?
Yes, by 3 games.
Amazing.
Cardinals are over 500, 9-8, but they don't get one of the last wild cards. So that's writer number 2 at NFL.com. So if the Cardinals are looking for a little extra motivation,
SI.com had them 6-11.
No,
doing the same thing.
Come on now. Come on.
Yes, I'm like, come on.
6-11. Have you seen the first half of the schedule?
They're not going 6.
That is a good reminder that we need to start week 1 where we make predictions every week of the other games.
We do? Oh, of the other games.
Yeah, the other games.
Remember
Oh,
last
that's
week?
right. We did that last
week.
week.
Danny's chasing perfection.
Remember when I
so.
swept you both and I went 15-0?
Something changed mid-season for Danny.
I made
All of a
mid-season
sudden-
adjustments.
All of a sudden, the light went on for Danny mid-season, #fishy, as there were rampant allegations that Danny was
No, there were not.
outsourcing the
It just
picks.
became a hobby of mine, so I really put in the effort.
You sure about that?
Yes.
You sure you don't want to come clean about anything, Danny, about what happened mid-season?
What, did I miss something?
Well, don't you remember?
No.
In the stand.
I just got good.
No, I know what happened, but I don't know
went
this
from
conspiracy
she
theory.
went from like the Colorado Rockies in the standings to like nearly winning the whole thing, and it changed mid-season. It was like, well, wait a minute, what's going on
I
here?
started caring. Once I realized I could be good,
All right.
I started caring.
Well,
Please tell me you're going to clip I started caring.
We're going to launch an I-team investigation, and we'll see if we
what,
can.
with your Android? Good luck.
We'll get to. It just keeps getting worse. You know what? Just for that. Turns out I did get clipped after all. That'll do it for this edition of Cardinals Underground, brought to you by Pacific Office
I
Automation.
have tears in my eyes.